Your voice is chopping, Prabhu.
Sorry, Hare
Ah,
Krishna. Can you hear me now?
no, good, good.
So today we'll be starting with the new book. That is, the name of the book is The Second Chance. It's a very beautiful story, and it is coming from Srimad Bhagavatam. Chapter 1, Separating Men from the Animals. Shukadeva Goswami said to King Parikshit, in the city known as Kannauj in present-day India, there lived a Brahmana. There lived a Brahmana named Ajamila who married a prostitute maid servant and lost all his Brahminical qualities because of the association of the low-class woman. Ajamila gave trouble to others by arresting them, by cheating them in gambling, or by directly plundering them. This was the way he earned his livelihood and maintained his wife and children. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1.20, verse number 21 to 22. Law of consequences. Although Ajamina was born of a Brahmana father and strictly followed the regulatory principle no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and no gambling. He fell in love with the prostitute, and therefore all his good qualities were lost. As soon as a person abandons the regulatory principle, he engages in various kinds of sinful activities. The regulatory principles serve to keep us on the standard of human life. But if we abandon them, we fall down into illusionary life or Maya. If we want to advance in spiritual life, we must follow the regulatory principles and rectify the mistakes of our past lives and this present life. Only those who have become free from all kinds of sinful reactions are now engaged in the activities can fully pious activities can fully understand God. Person who commit sinful activities and who are overly attached to the bodily comforts and mundane friendship, society, and family affection cannot be spiritually self realized. The fault of illicit connection with women is that it destroys all one's Brahminical qualities. Ajamila abandoned all the regulatory principles due to his association with the prostitute. He became a cheater and a thief. One who acts dishonestly will be punished. He may escape the king's or government's law, but he can never escape God's laws. The materialistic thing. I am cheating God and I can continue to gratify my senses by the nefarious activities. But the Shastra scriptures state that such persons are cheating their own happiness in their in the end, and because they will have to accept the material body again and suffer accordingly. A man who is born in a Brahmana family is expected to be truthful and self-controlled, to be fully cognizant of spiritual life and its practical application, and to have complete faith in the statements of the Shastras. Anybody wants to start from here, Prabhu?
If a person does not follow the Shastra, he becomes degraded. The great sages and rises throughout the world have given guidance and their words are recorded in the Shastra. But rascal and fools misinterpret the scripture and misguide the people. At present, the Bhagavad Gita is interpreted in so many different ways, and these so-called explanations are accepted by the innocent public as authoritative knowledge. One interpreter explained that the battlefield of Kurukshetra referred to the material body and that the five Pandava brothers are really the five senses of the material body. But this is not the proper understanding. How can anyone explain the Bhagavad Gita when he does not understand it? Such an attempt is nonsense. To understand the bona fide science of God, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master and hear the Bhagavad Gita from him. We have to follow the great personalities, the previous Acharya, spiritual master, that will be to our profit. We should not speculate and make up our own statement. We should simply accept the injunction given by the great Acharya because that is the process of Vedic system. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master and inquire from him submissively. The absolute truth is explained in the scripture. Scriptures and the scriptures are explained by the spiritual master or saintly person. Whatever the bona fide self-realized spiritual master says must be accepted. There is no room of interpretation of Shastra in the Bhagavatam. It is said that Krishna lifted Govardhan hill just as a child lifts as a mushroom. He did not. He did it so easily, but people do not believe it. Those who do not believe in the Bhagavatam interpret as an indirect meaning. The meaning is clear, and there is nothing to be misunderstood. But these rascals draw their own conclusion nonetheless. When the language is clear, why should we interpret? By interpretation, so-called scholars and theologians have no played havoc with the Vedic literature. No bona fide acharya have been interpreted the Shastra according to his own whims. But many so-called modern scholars and leaders have done so, and therefore people are gliding down into the most abominable condition of material existence. In the interest of the people, these articles should be exposed. Therefore, we are presenting the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the degradation of modern society. Here, the Sri Bhagavatam says that the Brahmana Ajmaila became attached to a prostitute and thus lost his Brahminical qualification. He was a young man of about 20 when this happened. Because of this illicit association with the prostitute, Ajmaila was forced to live by begging, borrowing, stealing, and gambling. These verses indicate how degraded one becomes simply by indulging in illicit sex with prostitute. Illicit sex is not a possible with the chaste women, but only with the unchaste women. The more society allows prostitute and illicit sex, the more impetus it gives to cheaters, thieves, plunderers, drunkards, and gamblers. Therefore, we first advise all the disciples in our Krishna conscious movement to avoid illicit sex, which is the beginning of all abominable life and which is followed by meat eating, gambling, and intoxication, one after another. Of course, restraint is difficult, but it is quite possible if one fully surrenders to Krishna, since all abominable habits gradually become distasteful for a Krishna conscious person. Any? Go ahead.
Yeah, while in his time, Hajamil was an exception. In this present age, there are millions of Hajamils. But if illicit sex is allowed to increase, the entire society will be condemned. For it will be full of rogues, thieves, cheaters, and so forth. Therefore, if we actually want to improve the world situation, we have to take to Krishna consciousness, as that gives the best service to human society, both materially and spiritually. Whatever abominable characteristics we have developed, we have only to take to the process of bhakti yoga or the devotional service in order to completely eradicate them. We have developed so many anarthas or unwanted habits, the chief of the which are meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. But we can curb them by accepting the principles of bhakti yoga as they are presented in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Sacredly, anyone knows these Vedic scriptures, and therefore no one heeds their instructions. People would rather read all kinds of books by all kinds of rascals, but the result of such books is to kill Krishna consciousness. In illusion, a person may think he can get rid of unwanted habits and be saved by some artificial mystic meditation. And in fact, at one time, it was possible to attain liberation by practicing Ashtanga Yoga or eightfold yogic meditation. But at present, almost no one can follow this process, and artificial attempts at yoga will not help us. Therefore, to help the fallen people of this age of Kali, the Supreme Lord appeared 500 years ago as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He knew that the people of this age would not even be able to follow the regulative principles and want to speak of practicing Ashtanga Yoga. Therefore, he gave the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, so that we can gradually be elevated to the highest position of spiritual life. Other processes of the purification or sacrifice cannot be followed in this age because for the most part people are too degraded. But anyone may take to this process of chanting Hare Krishna, as it is said in the Brhan Naradiya Purana. Harer Nam, Harer Nameva Kevalam, Kalayu Naste, Eva Naste, Eva Gatir Anyatha. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Chanting the holy name of the Lord is always superbly effective, but it is especially effective in this age of Kali. Its practical effectiveness will now be explained by Sukdev Goswami through the history of Ajamil, who was freed from the hands of Yamaraj, the universal judge, simply because of chanting the holy name of Narayan. The dangers of illicit sex. To benefit fully from chanting the holy name of the Lord, one needs to chant offensively and to guarantee the offenseless chanting, some austerity is required. First of all, one should not indulge in illicit sex. Sex is one of the bodily needs, so it is sanctioned in the shastras to some degree. One is allowed to live peacefully and with one's wife and have sex for begetting children. Other than to beget children, however, there is no need for indulging in sex. One who does not take the responsibility of family life but remains a bachelor and engages in illicit sex is considered irresponsible, and he will have to suffer the consequences. Of course, one who thinks that family life is too big a responsibility can forego it and thus avoid a lot of trouble. Family responsibility is a very great. Therefore, if a man feels he cannot accept the responsibility, he should remain a brahmachari, a celibate student. A person who practices the science of brahmacharya under the care of a spiritual master automatically becomes 75% free from the material entanglement. Today, however, no one wants to undergo the austerity of brahmacharya. Everyone wants to remain unmarried but also engage in sex. In this way, people are losing all good characters. To maintain a woman who is nothing more than a prostitute and engage in illicit sex with her for producing children is sinful. Such children are unwanted. Uh, Varna Sankara. And in this way, the society becomes degraded. Ajamil became attracted to a prostitute, and with her, he begot 10 children. He became so degraded that he could not execute honest business to support his large family, and he was forced to beg, borrow, and steal to maintain them. If a person indulges in illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling, automatically follows. His expenses will be unlimited, and to meet all his expenses, he will have to adopt methods of cheating and stealing. The basis for Ajamila's degradation was his illicit connection with the prostitute. Therefore, in the practice of Krishna consciousness, we do not allow any illicit sex. Devotees must either get married or remain celibate. This regulation is very effective for maintaining a high standard of purity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So we'll start this tomorrow, maybe. Chapter 2. So this is a very beautiful pastime of a story of Ajamila Brahmana. So we'll read like